eliminated Canada in the 2024 Copa America and punched their ticket to the final Sunday down in Miami. Welcome into our Los Angeles studios alongside Kasey, Keller, Herculez Gomez, and a man with whom I shared a wonderful beachside walk this morning, Alejandro Moreno. I'm Sebastian Salazar. Great to have you with us here for episode 300.
But you didn't ignore me.
I did not ignore you today. We had a nice walk, ran into some very important people down there on the beach. What a nice treat for us.
Got shout-outs as well.
We did get some shout-outs. There's some viewers of the show here in this part of
Absolutely.
California. Yeah, the guy stopped traffic, literally, to shout down Alejandro and me. And he had something nice to say as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
big Canada fan. He was a big Canada fan. He was rooting for them. So
Unlucky.
a little disappointed with what happened tonight. We do have a lot to get to in this show, of course. Uruguay, Colombia is the second semifinal. That's taking place tomorrow in Charlotte. We'll be previewing that in just a second. Mexico may be considering a coaching change. I know in the recent days it sounds like maybe they're going to stick with Jimmy Lozano, but there could be some changes afoot down in Mexico. And then we will also be hearing from Jurgen Klinsmann. He had some interesting comments on ESPN FC earlier today, not just about Jurgen Klopp, but also about the U.S. men's national team job overall. But let's start, Kasey, shall we, with a game that just ended. The last CONCACAF team standing, the good old Canadians in New Jersey taking on Argentina. Same score as when the two sides met in the tournament opener. The big news in this one was would Messi start? He did end up starting. So did Di Maria. No Lautaro Martinez. Instead, it was Julian Alvarez, and Scaloni's decision there rewarded. Alvarez opening the scoring in the 22nd minute. It was 1-0 at the half, still a tight game. And then Lionel Messi off a deflection, scoring in the 50th minute, his first goal of the tournament, and Argentina advances in front of 80,000 plus in New Jersey. Ale, what do we make of this Argentina performance tonight as they got the job done over Canada?
And big story coming into this game was, well, what is the fitness of Lionel Messi? And while people may pay attention to what Lionel Messi did with the ball, actually the first sign that Lionel Messi was feeling a whole lot better than he did in the game against Ecuador was the fact that in a couple of sequences, very early on in this match, he was actually looking not to come to the ball, but to run in behind. Actually looking to run in behind, which then tells you you're trusting your body. You feel a whole lot better. You feel like you can actually challenge your legs to get in behind and get at full speed, whatever full speed is right now at this point of his career. He was actually trying to run in behind. And that gave you, I think, a clear signal that Lionel Messi was going to have a different type of performance. Now, I'm not saying that he was always active. I'm not saying that he was always getting on the ball, but he was getting on the ball enough to make a difference and to have an impact on the game for Argentina and to really make it a whole lot easier for them to connect out of the midfield, get into the attacking half, get into the final third, always finding that pass that breaks out of pressure. To add that to the fact that Angel Di Maria was also very active. And in him being very active, it takes pressure away from Lionel Messi. It forces Alphonso Davies to go into a wide area to address Angel Di Maria, which then doesn't allow players to step into the space for Lionel Messi, and he can now operate with a whole lot more space. I thought that Argentina was solid without being spectacular. I think if you were to characterize this team and describe this team, that's what you would say overall. They're solid, not spectacular, and they know how to win games. And when it came to making winning plays, Argentina was far more effective in front of goal than Canada were. The truth of the matter is that Lionel Messi and Argentina look more likely to continue to score goals. And even though Canada pushed and they huffed and they puffed and they created some half chances here and a chance there, I never really got the sense that Canada was ever going to get back into this match.
How much better was Messi tonight, Herc, than what we saw against Ecuador?
Light years better. He was actually moving. He was, listen, it's not the Messi of old where he's going to get the ball in between the lines, between players, dribbling and doing everything that he does, but he was very active, and he looked like he was a different player than Ecuador. And listen, maybe Ecuador is a one-off. It's not the type of Messi we're used to seeing, but he was much more involved. And I agree, the running beyond players. But I think that Scaloni, they were purposely attacking that left-hand side of Alphonso Davies. He was a victim tonight of Jacob Schaffelberg with the idea of occupying that side so they don't go forward. They can hurt us down that left-hand side. Let's occupy that side, get in behind because the spaces will be there. And this game was over in the 22nd minute. It was over in the 22nd minute. The moment that Julian Alvarez gets beyond them, another defensive mistake, Bombito at midfield, Rodrigo de Paul with the ball, nobody steps. He's allowed to scan the field and put the ball where he wants. Julian Alvarez with a beautiful touch, and he finishes it. The moment that ball hits the back of the net, it's over. Canada is now chasing the game. They have to stretch themselves out even more if they want to risk and somewhat disturb the opposition, because there were half chances, no real chances for Canada. That's as good as it got. It was a very professional performance from Argentina, a well-coached performance from Scaloni. They attacked this Canadian team where they knew they can hurt them in behind.
How does this Argentina performance, Kasey, stack up against what we've seen from them the rest of the tournament?
Well, I think besides the last match where we were very critical about was Messi fit, the midfield then was all over the place. We saw it from the first 5 minutes of this match that the Argentinian midfield was connecting 1- and 2-touch passes. We didn't see any of that in the Ecuador game. So the midfield was up for it. Messi, obviously, not only did he run in behind, once actually in the first 15 minutes, he chased back and defended. And when he
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, it's true. One time he chased back and defended.
All right, okay.
And so when you saw that, you went, okay, you know, Messi's up for this. But it's kind of what we've been used to seeing from Argentina, is doing what's just enough to win the match. Now, when we look at Canada, we knew that we knew they needed the perfect match, and the perfect match didn't happen. Matches are won in the 18s. They're not won in midfield. It has to be those moments. And what we saw from Argentina was a difference of quality in the final third, in the attacking end of the field, compared to Canada. Canada broke them down 2 or 3 times in each half when they needed that moment of quality in the final third, albeit a touch, a run, a shot, a decision, whatever it was, that was missing from Canada. And then when you needed that tackle, that challenge, that whatever, you saw it from Argentina as well. So the gulf in final moment quality, both in the attack and in the defense, was miles apart with Argentina tonight.
In the pregame, Ale, we talked about kind of what would the approach be for Canada and what would be the approach for Jesse Marsch. Did they get it right? And was it similar to what we've seen from them throughout this tournament?
No, they didn't get it right. Because, and Kasey was mentioning in the pregame how potentially it would be better for Canada to drop off and be very solid defensively and very disciplined defensively and move together and then find an opportunity where you can get out on the counter. And while I agree that technically that's what you would want to do, and tactically, ideally, that's what you would want to do against Argentina, it's not in the personality of this group to do so. And more importantly, it's not in the personality of Jesse Marsch to do this. Jesse Marsch is a guy that is in your face, and his teams are going to get in your face, and they're going to press higher up the field, and they're going to try to make it difficult for you, and they're going to try to force turnovers in the attacking half so that then you have a shorter distance to go from goal once you recover possession. Well, what we saw from Canada in the initial part of the game was an in-between. It was neither sitting back nor was it pressing higher up the field. And in being in between, you're nowhere. What it tells me is that there may have been a message of, hey, let's be a little bit more conservative defensively. Well, when there is an opportunity to press, you got to go all together. And in order to do that effectively, you have to be very clear as to when you step and how you step. And what I saw from Canada is that 3 guys will go, but not the rest of the team. Then the 3 guys would drop off, and then now Argentina had space to play. It was never connected. And what we have seen from Canada in this tournament that they had been so successful doing is making the field short. With that pressure in between lines is very clear and very clean and very well organized. Well, it wasn't organized. And if you need an example, if you think that I'm wrong, if you think that whatever I'm telling you doesn't make any sense, just look at the first goal and just look at the lack of pressure on the first initial pass into Rodrigo de Paul. He's allowed to turn. There's no pressure there either. And now you have center backs that instead of recognizing the danger and dropping off, what do? They keep that high line. High line without pressure on the ball and spacing behind is dead. dead. And then, of course, Julian Alvarez brings the ball down, finishes the chance, 1-0 Argentina, and here we go.
It's extremely difficult to be connected as a team. And now you're asking a team that's never played in this system, that's had 2 games with this coach heading into this tournament, to get things right in a new form of playing. What Ali's talking about is that line of confrontation. It was just above half circle. When they bypassed that pressure, because when you get in there, there's pressure. You confront. But when they bypassed that pressure, Rodrigo de Paul allowed to scan the field, they were caught in that no man's land. And in that high line, it's Bombito, it's Cornelius, facing the wrong way. It's Alistair Johnston, not closing in. There's too many spaces with a team that thrives on spaces, which with players that are good in open space, facing goal. It's not a good combination. This was a team in Canada today was exposed for how naive they were at times and also how inexperienced working together into this new system they have been.
What about their star man, Kasey, Alphonso Davies? If there's a guy that you thought Canada could count on in a big moment, you thought it would be in him. What did you think of him tonight? And then maybe big picture, his performance.
He had a tough tournament.
Really?
He had a tough tournament. He didn't impact the ball going forward. I think a lot of us were expecting, Alphonso, when he's in full flow at Bayern Munich, and he then has space to overlap and run, and there's something special there. I never really saw him get out on the run at any time during the tournament. And then even multiple times, we were talking about Di Maria makes a run, and then you think, oh, okay. The reason they didn't pass him the ball was because Alphonso Davies is there, and he's just going to chase him down. But then the first goal, or right before the first goal, Di Maria makes a run, comes over the top. There's then miscommunication between Alphonso and the center back, and then a great ball comes in, and I think Messi misses a shot. But it's just like, it just was not what I expected, because we expect a very athletic side in Canada, and the most athletic being Alphonso Davies, and being tipped to be the best player in CONCACAF. And I don't know if it's, I want to go to Real Madrid, am I staying but it just looked like something else was in his head, and it just wasn't a clean performance in any of the matches.
Go ahead, Herc.
No, we always talk about how it is a player's stock improve with the tournament. This is one of those tournaments for Alphonso Davies where if you're Real Madrid, you're thinking, wait a second, what are we getting here? Because Real Madrid goes for the best players in the world in those positions. Alphonso Davies did not look like one of the best players in the world in this tournament.
Is that down to him or how he was deployed, you think?
Deployed in how? He's a left back. He's playing in a left back position. You're a left back in a left back position, scanning the whole field, the field in front of you. You should be able to make a pass. You should be able to dribble out of the back. Now, listen. We'll get into the fields, and they were atrocious. As bad as they can be, this is embarrassing for CONCACAF. This is embarrassing for CONMEBOL. This is embarrassing for a country that's going to host the World Cup.
A stadium that's going to host the World Cup.
A stadium that's going to host the World Cup. It is an embarrassment. But Alphonso Davies had some good fields. Alphonso Davies had some moments where he could prove that he's a good footballer, and he was nowhere in between. As Kasey was alluding to, I don't know if the not knowing of where he's going to go, the uncertainty of his club situation was weighing heavily on him, but he looked a shadow of himself. This was a player that we weren't just talking about being the best player in CONCACAF, we're talking about being one of the best in this position in the world. Today, this tournament, he didn't look it.
Can I just tell you that I am not surprised? Not surprised, because if you follow Bayern Munich and Bundesliga,
nobody follows it like Bundesliga.
Available on ESPN Plus, by the way. Derek Ray would get really mad if I didn't say that. Available on ESPN Plus, Bundesliga.
But what?
Exclusively on ESPN Plus.
Ollie, what's the German word for that?
Available? Don't quite have it in my vocabulary just yet, but I'm working on it. Now, here's the thing. If you have seen Alphonso Davies play this season with Bayern Munich, the truth is that he hasn't been in that full flow that you're talking about.
Correct.
Kasey. And it's been for a while that he hasn't been at that level. And so I think so many times we associate players to past performances and expect that that's what they're going to deliver. And you certainly think, or would think, that would be the case with Alphonso Davies, and because he is the team captain and because he is the flag bearer, the poster child for Canadian football, that indeed, he would show up in this sort of moments. But he was never, ever ever, certainly in this game, a presence in the attack for Canada. And why is that important? It's because he is a guy that with athleticism, with speed, when he gets around that corner, when he opens up into that space and exploits that space, it makes this team exponentially more dangerous and more difficult to defend. And it makes this team, I think it actually elevates players around him because now you have a team that is getting on that track meet, that is getting on that running back and forth that they do so very well. And if you were to point out something that Argentina did very well today, is control the pace of the game and the rhythm of the game. They only got in trouble when they started turning the ball over in the second half. But for the majority of the match, we're going to slow it down when we want to, and we're going to speed it up when we want to. Not when Canada wants to run. We'll run when we want to run. Alphonso Davies never impacted or affected this match.
Can we bring it back to Argentina here from a they've reached the final perspective? Is there any concern that maybe they haven't hit fifth gear yet, or maybe beyond that, that they haven't been tested yet throughout this competition? I mean, they had Ecuador in the quarterfinals. It was a test, but probably not at the level of a Brazil or an Uruguay or a Colombia type test yet.
Well, I suppose that if you want to go glass half empty, which apparently that's the way that you live your life, Seb, yes, that's one approach. I think if you're Argentina, the way that you actually frame this argument is we are actually not anywhere near where we can be. And we're winning matches, and we're advancing. And as I mentioned following that match against Ecuador, if they were gonna lose, it was that match. It was that night. It was that moment, because everything came together for Argentina to lose that match, or to, at the very least, be bounced out of the competition. And they survived that. And anybody that has ever won a tournament at any point actually goes through a moment in which, man, you think you're out, and somehow you're still in. Argentina survived that, and I was expecting a much better version of Argentina today, and I think it's fair to say that this was a better version of Argentina. In order for them to win this competition, it's going to have to be even better than what it was tonight. I think this team in a final will be able to deliver that performance.
But what did we talk about when we were watching this match? We were talking about an Argentinian side over the last several years. They just do what they need to do to win the game. They're not beating teams 6-0 and 5-0 just because they can. They just like, oh, we got a couple goals. We got one in each half. Perfect. Got that second goal in the 55th minute. And now we're just going to see the game out. We don't need to win this game 4 or 5. You know, I think we've seen, you know, I think particularly Colombia of late that kind of really enjoys kind of really stepping on the gas. But you just don't see it with this side. They're just like, hey, okay, we'll do our job. And I truly believe that if Canada had got a goal, they would have stepped on the gas again and got that third. But they didn't need to, so we're just going to do the job.
I don't know if they would have gotten that third. They would have controlled the game like they did today. What'd your Primo take here?
He took Argentina and the under 3.5, which is the standard play when Argentina plays, because to Kasey's point, they tend to win. They don't tend to blow teams out. However, when we think about what's coming next, it's Uruguay or Colombia. It's better than Canada. How confident are you that they can take that next step, like Ale is saying? Because I'm sure it will be a stiffer test in the final than anything they've faced yet.
With all due respect to Uruguay or Colombia, who could be that opponent, it's par for the course with what we've seen over the years. Yeah. Whether it's Copa America or whether it's the World Cup. I mean, you can go back to when they played the Netherlands, you know, and in dramatic fashion, overtime, penalty kicks. Can go back to the World Cup final against France. Spectacular games that they end up somehow finding a way to win. But they didn't beat them in the 90 minutes. They do what it takes. This is a team that doesn't need to be spectacular. I think they feel comfortable in their skin, and they can do it in so many different ways. Today, they control the tempo of the midfield. Other games that we've seen before in the World Cup against Australia, it's sloppy, it's gritty. They find a way, you know, it doesn't need to be pretty. They do what it takes, and they have special players. Right now, Messi got his goal. He looked physically fit, which for me was the most important thing. A physically fit Messi getting his goal with Angel Di Maria all of a sudden being a factor, which he's always been a factor. Copa America final against Brazil gets his goal. World Cup final against France gets his goal. Another final here in his going away party, he could be a major factor.
But let's not take away from what we all thought was going to happen as well once the lineups were out. Julian Alvarez and the work rate up front to just absolutely set the tone and then
And there were doubts about that decision.
Correct. But the way he is then able to just continue to press, continue to harass, and how many times Canada turned the ball over in midfield and didn't have to then, particularly in the first half, then have to kind of defend as a unit in the heat. They won the ball back quickly, and so much of that started from that instant pressure from him.
I have a very, to your point, Kasey, I have a very soft spot for the work that Julian Alvarez does. Man, do I appreciate what he's doing. And let me just say, it's not easy. It's not easy because it's not in your nature. You're an attacking player who scores goals, who your livelihood depends on scoring goals. And yet for this team, his role is you're going to chase and you're going to work. And why are you doing that? Because that guy is not chasing. that guy is not defending. So somebody's got to do it so that you have that balance. And it was so important for Argentina to be able to have that, a player that will perhaps not win the ball or not win the challenge, but he's made it uncomfortable enough to where now the second pass gets cut out, and that's where Argentina sort of got to be on the front foot in the first half. I would say this about Argentina, just in general. It's hard to think of a team in the world, not just CONMEBOL, not just in Copa America, but in the world, that enjoys so much and thrives so much the suffering, el sufrimiento, suffering to get a result. That they, while we think, oh man, they're under pressure, or we may think, oh my goodness, they're not playing well. When are they going to play at their best? They're thinking, that's all right. We'll make a challenge, sliding challenge, or Dibu Martinez will make a save, or somebody will come up with some sort of block, goal line clearance, and they continue to play that way. And in that suffering, in that sufrimiento, they thrive. They thrive. We focus on Messi, and we talk about Julian Alvarez, and we talk about, and rightfully so, and Di Maria and what they have going forward. But what has made this team a championship team in Copa America and the World Cup is the fact that while they're taking care of the offensive part to do just enough, the defensive part of it, they're able to provide and build a platform from which those other guys can provide productivity.
Go back to the long throw right before the half.
Yeah.
I mean, Debo had very little to do in this match. But when you needed him, there was a long throw, skip through. Romero thought it was going to go back to him. And Alfonso slips in and hits a shot, and Debo stands up big at the near post.
Yeah.
Dave makes the save. So, and you're thinking, okay, you sneak that goal in 1-1 halftime. But no, when you needed your goalkeeper to keep his concentration for one play in that half, that also makes a difference for a team that likes to suffer. When you know you have also not only just attacking players that can get you goals, midfield that can control the match, defenders who are willing to fight for everything, but then when it does break down, a goalkeeper who can consistently come up with a big save for you. That's why you're in finals and winning trophies and doing things like that.
I'm shocked you're talking about the goalkeeper. I'm shocked.
Who had a better draw, England or Argentina?
Oh, all right.
A better draw?
Yeah. Who's been luckier in how the brackets have broken for them?
England.
Yeah.
They're playing against a third-place team in the semifinal. You know, this Canadian team, I know many out there are going to say, well, this is what we thought would happen with Canada. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Nobody thought Canada was going to be in the semifinal.
No, it's not. And people need to sit back and appreciate, if you're Canadian, what you have going on here. You've got a group of players. This pool, while it may be limited, it is strong. You've got players playing in good places who may have big deals coming up in the future, and Jonathan David. You've got players, to our argument or our topic on Alphonso Davies, who are considered best in the region. You've got a good spine. You've got a young, hungry coach. You had 2 games before this tournament, and you find yourself in a semifinal game against the World Cup champions. And I'll tell you what, for 10, 15 minutes, I'm sitting there going,
maybe.
I kind of like this.
Telling me there's
I
a
kind of like
chance.
this. But the moment you get scored on, you're chasing the game, things change. But it's something to build on. While the United States is sitting at home, while Mexico is in su casa, you're playing in New York, a semifinal against Messi and friends. There's something to build on here. So, easier draw? Absolutely it is England, because, listen, the other side of that bracket, we got to be quite frank, you have Portugal, France, Spain. You had all those teams,
And
I just
Uruguay, Colombia, Brazil.
Well,
I mean,
on that side too. That's
Somebody
not a
wants his
bad-
next vacation to Canada paid for.
I
Is
know,
what I'm seeing
I know,
here, huh?
I know. But let's
Free Tim Hortons for life.
let's look. Well, not necessarily haters. I'm just going to drop some facts there. Just see what you do with them because
All right.
the Netherlands did destroy Canada not too long ago.
Oh, a friendly game. First Jesse Marsch.
I'm sorry, but these are the. But hold on.
That's European semifinalists.
Yes.
Netherlands,
Yeah,
okay?
Third place in their group, Netherlands. Yes.
All right. Hold on a second. Are you suggesting? Are you really suggesting a team that just lost 4-0?
Nobody's suggesting that. They're asking about their groups. They're asking about who had an easier bracket.
Well, yeah, but what I'm
considering
saying,
their tournament.
I know, but what I'm saying is, the Netherlands beat your team. Now Canada's your team. Your boys 4-0 ahead of the tournament.
And they tied France 0-0 before that. Come on, isn't that?
What do you mean?
I thought you'd be here defending Copa America. You're defending the Euros.
No, I'm not. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily. Well, no, because I will not defend CONCACAF because, so by the way, CONCACAF does not belong in Copa America. So if you want to have that conversation, we'll have that dance. We'll have that dance. Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Canada.
Yes.
Facts. Let's go with facts.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not making it up. This is in the tournament.
Yes.
2 of the games they played against 10 men for an extensive period of time.
South American opposition. Yes, 10 men. I was just trying to get some facts straight. You want to drop facts? I'm just trying to remember what teams they were.
Okay, but did they play with 10 men?
Yes.
So if they play with 10 men, they become
With 10 men or against 10 men?
against 10 men.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
There are 2 victories in the group phase for both against teams with 10.
Against 10 men.
Chile and
right?
Peru.
And so and this pains me. this pains me. I mean, when I say it pains me, it rips my heart apart. I mean, it rips it out. They beat Venezuela.
Yeah.
In a penalty kick shootout. Venezuela, who most people overlook as a team, who most people don't respect, and who I have to spend every single day with them in this show or FC. Wait. On this show or an FC, yelling out of the top of my lungs, "Vamos, Venezuela!" just to further the agenda and the narrative of Venezuela, to defend my country. But overall, Venezuela is not looked upon as a strong team, whether that's South America or whether that's in CONCACAF or whether that's CONMEBOL. When you think Venezuela, Canada thought of it as an opportunity. I don't think when you play the Netherlands in the European Championship, you're thinking this is an opportunity.
There you go.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. In front of us, frequently here on ESPN.
But I love Copa America, by the way.
ESPN FC.
In America.
You can watch 7 days a week.
In South America, Copa America.
Dan, Kay, and the rest of the crew covering Copa America as well as the European Championships, or what's left of the respective tournaments. All right, second semifinal at the Copa America, Uruguay, Colombia, Wednesday in Charlotte for the right to face Argentina in the final on Sunday. Uruguay seeking a record 16th Copa America title. Colombia looking to extend their 27-match unbeaten streak. For Uruguay, Araujo had an injury in the quarterfinals. Nández was sent off, so those could be 2 big misses. For Colombia, they get Jefferson Lerma back. He was suspended for the quarterfinal against Panama. Ale, lots of success for Colombia in this tournament. What, to you, has been the key behind it?
I think Colombia are a sneaky team in terms of their organization. We tend to focus on what James Rodriguez does. And much like Argentina, in order for James Rodriguez to be able to do what he does, there has to be a group of players around him that are willing to do some running. And you see that from Colombia. And the back line has been solid. Through the midfield, they've been very, very disciplined. You have, I think, outstanding breakout performances from guys like Richard Rios, who, playing alongside James Rodriguez, drives with the ball forward, hits shots from distance. You have the work of Daniel Muñoz on the outside
Goal
back.
scorer.
And scoring goals. And overall, this hasn't even been the most dynamic or most explosive or most productive performance from Luis Diaz, and yet this team are in the place that they are. So even without the best version of Luis Diaz, we got closer to seeing that against Panama, and you're seeing a team that has so many different ways of beating you. And the one thing that I think, more importantly, above all the things that I've said, what Colombia have going for them coming into this semifinal is, one, they're rested. their bodies and their minds haven't been stressed nearly as much as Uruguay has. And two, they are confident. They were confident coming into this tournament, and this tournament has only served to build on that confidence and to feel a whole lot better about themselves. The fans from Colombia as well. As I've said before in this show, might as well be in Medellin, Barranquilla, Bogotá.
They're showing up.
That is the environment that they're creating in stadiums, and so it really puts Colombia in an advantageous position.
Is that success in kind of the run that they're on? Has that built to the optimism
momentum?
of the fans and everyone behind because they think this could be, with the way everything you mentioned, everything, the way they're playing, the confidence that they're having, that, I picked them as my favorite coming into the tournament, and they haven't disappointed me, and I don't see any reason why.
Well, thank you for the reminder, Kasey. I appreciate that. Thank you.
How significant is what we assume will be a major home field advantage for Colombia against Uruguay in this game? I mean, Charlotte's not a place that maybe is known for Colombians, but we've seen Colombians take over stadiums all over the United States.
We see this with the Mexican national team, how they'll be full of Mexican fans, but it doesn't quite feel like you're in Mexico City. There's a big difference when it comes to that. And I think we're going to experience something similar. It's a fiesta. It's a grand celebration when there are Colombian fans here in the United States, but it doesn't feel like you're in Colombia. It may look like you're in Colombia, but it's not the same.
Sounds like it on the television.
I'm sorry. Have you been watching the same games?
Oh, you know what it's like to play away in CONMEBOL, how hostile it is.
I know, but I feel like there's been a lot of flights from Colombia to here in the United States. I'm just saying. But some of that energy in some of the stadiums, the fact that they not only in the game against Brazil, which you think Brazil will outdraw anybody in the world, no. It was all of Colombia just completely taking over the stadium.
Sure, but I'm sure if you ask Uruguay if they'd rather play Colombia in Charlotte or Colombia in Colombia, they're going to say,
well, of course.
Send me to Charlotte.
Well, of course.
Send me to Charlotte.
Well,
and I think that plays a factor here.
Well, of course.
So that's going to go out the window because there's going to be some Uruguayan fans.
Do you see a weakness in this Colombia team? I think I asked you that after a couple games and you struggled to find one. Is anything else?
They're so well balanced. I think this has more to do with how Uruguay respond and what they have left, because Ali was talking about that fight that they had with Brazil, what's left physically and mentally. Nandes is out suspended with that red card. You have Ronald Araujo, who comes out injured. In his place, Jimenez comes in. And then Viñas, the left back, goes out with some sort of knock. And, it's Oliveira who goes on to the left, and it's Sebastian Cáceres who comes into that back line. So what's left of Uruguay? And not only that, what type of Darwin Núñez are you going to get? Because Darwin has won a game. He's got one clear opportunity to game. Can he convert that? Can he put it away? Because you may only get that one opportunity versus this Colombia. And this Colombia team, they're not just full throttle one way. They can hold the ball. They can go through the midfield with Richard Rios, with John Arias. They can go direct one with Cordoba, their 9. They can have a free kick specialist in James Rodriguez. They can go 1v1 with Luis Diaz. There's so many different ways they can hurt you that I think is going to preoccupy Uruguay just a bit more. And my fear for Uruguay when it came to the latter stages was they would run out of steam. I think we're there with them.
Kasey, to Herc's point, what's your level of concern or confidence when it comes to Darwin Núñez, that he can do the thing that Herc's questioning, whether he can be decisive in that moment? We know he can get into good spots.
For sure.
But can he be the guy in this game?
Well, I think that's been what all the Liverpool fans have been wanting to see. Obviously Uruguay fans want to see. They want to see that ratio come down of chances to goals scored. They don't want 4 or 5 chances for one goal. They want 1-2 chances for a goal. And I think that's part of the problem with Núñez is he needs 4 or 5 chances to get that one goal. And the way we've seen Colombia defend in this tournament, I just don't see him having that many opportunities. So his efficiency in the final third is going to have to be spot on. Otherwise, I think it could be a tough day for Uruguay.
Can I put forth a public service announcement?
Yes, please.
And I want to talk to the director of the feed of this game from Colombia and Uruguay.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Look, I'm just saying.
Here we go.
PSA. Please, when Darwin Núñez, not if, but when Darwin Núñez misses a chance, please, por favor, I beg you, do not cut to Luis Suarez and make it seem as if Luis Suarez would have scored the chance. Please. It's all news. Luis Suarez cannot move. And so I would make the argument that, yes, if Luis Suarez were able to get in that position, he's more likely to score. But getting to that position is a challenge at this point in his career. So please, do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Don't cut to Luis Suarez every time that Darwin Núñez
two or three.
a chance.
You've touched on it a little bit, saying like you're worried that Uruguay is going to run out of steam. And I think what you're touching on there is some doubts about the Bielsa style over the course of the tournament. If you look at Bielsa's resume, it's missing tournament trophies. There's some trophies mixed in there, but international tournament trophies outside of the Olympics with Argentina, it's missing. Is that a worry from a Uruguayan perspective, that the manager, as great a job as he's done, is not built for this?
Yeah, all I would say is that I think we have to be careful as to how we evaluate Uruguay in the earlier part of the tournament and then in the last couple of matches. In the earlier part of the tournament, it was all pressure all the time in your face. Against the United States, it was different. It was more grind. It was more, we'll sit in here and we'll make this about physicality in the midfield and physicality in our defensive half. Against Brazil, they were forced to do that because they went down a man. And the game was physical to begin with, and it never got into a situation in which they were just pressing all over the field. They couldn't do that once they went down a man, and of course, they just sat back and forced this into more physicality, more physicality, more physicality. My concern for Uruguay is the physical stress and the mental stress that they have put themselves through over the last couple of matches, because it has been taxing, because it has been such a grind. And while I love me some Uruguay grinding, it just seems that in order for them to be successful against Colombia, they have to get in the face of James Rodriguez. It can't just be we're defending from here. No, I got to get tied to the guy. I got to be here. I got to be in his face so that I impact what he does and I can change what he does. If they don't do that, then I think Colombia picks them apart. And that's when it becomes challenging for them to find those legs that I don't think are quite there.
All right, let's get some predictions. Why don't we, as we look ahead to the second of the two semifinals, Uruguay, Colombia, Wednesday in Charlotte. Kasey, what do you think?
1-0 Colombia.
1-0 Colombia. All right, so that's a Colombia-Argentina final in Miami. That's going to be a tough ticket to get. Ale?
Did we already do predictions for this game? I want to be consistent.
I can't remember. I don't think so.
We did them for our friends at ESPN Caribbean, but that was for another
All right, okay.
I think we just picked the winner, though. I don't think
we didn't do a final score.
Yeah.
I'll say, I'm going to agree with Kasey. I'm going to go 1-0 Colombia.
Colombia. All right. Herc, anything different?
No, just a scoreline, 2-0 Colombia.
Wow. I'm surprised it's unanimous Colombia.
You're going Uruguay because you don't,
I'm just going Uruguay because I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
What's your primo doing?
I picked them at the beginning of the tournament because they were plus 550, which was a good value.
Okay.
So Primo's probably taking the under in this game. I tell you what, I think it's probably going to be more of a
I will say this,
Uruguay-Brazil than a Colombia-Panama.
That's right. If Uruguay has a chance in this game, it's going to
muck
be
it up, right?
Because this game is going to get grind city.
Oh, look at that. Odds of a red card, plus 270. I'll take that one. I will take that one.
All right, ESPN bet handing away money.
It's going to be the Montevideo special.
They've never watched a CONMEBOL game, apparently. All right, so special edition of ESPN FC coming up tomorrow after Uruguay against Colombia. It's kind of a special edition ESPN FC Futbol Americas. It's a combo. Should be on right around 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time right here on ESPN+. Jurgen, you of course know the U.S. team well. You know the U.S. job well. You know Jurgen Klopp well. Do you think that it would be a good fit? Should U.S. soccer pursue this if indeed they do move on from the current manager?
If you are able to manage that, to get him over and coach the U.S. team, unbelievable. You know, I would carry you all over the place. No, I mean, I can tell you. No, and, obviously, I mean, I know Jurgen a long time, and he's not only a super guy as he comes across throughout all the years that he's coached and played also before. He's always curious about what's next, what happens in other places, what happens in other continents. He's a consistent learner of the game, and I mean that's why he's one of the best coaches in the world, and he proved that, you know, throughout his years at Liverpool.
Jurgen Klopp, always curious about other places. I mean, I don't know if I'm reading too much between the lines, but that sounds like there's a chance. Kasey, what do you think?
Hold on.
Well,
Wait a
I
second.
guess if you're in the 1 in a million is a chance.
Well,
then it's a
Jurgen
chance.
Klinsmann didn't really make it sound like Jurgen Klopp would immediately dismiss the idea. Didn't he make it sound like he had a
said he would
personality
carry
that
you.
He said he would carry you around if that happened.
While
laughing
chuckling,
very hard.
laughing.
Yes.
Yeah, let me just say, a German laughing, laughing. I mean, it was not just a laugh. It was look, it's great to think about. But can I just say that it's a way of also setting yourself up for failure, in that you throw this name out there, Jurgen Klopp, and it's this big dream, right? And probably, more than likely, it's not going to be Jurgen Klopp. And so whoever else comes is like, well, but it's not Jurgen Klopp. And so already that person is carrying a handicap into the position.
I don't know. Listen, I agree. He's saying it in tongue-in-cheek. But part of me still thinks that there are these coaches out there who many think are unattainable. No way. Yet I don't know. You've got the allure of living in the United States, the allure of a World Cup, some coaches who want to slow down their lifestyle. What's slower than coaching every couple months?
A national team that doesn't have any qualifiers before a World Cup? Yeah, there's literally almost no work.
So while I agree with what you're saying, and I do agree with what you're saying, honestly.
Well, it doesn't sound like it, but
No,
all
I
right.
just don't think it's.
It's a funny way of saying it.
I just don't think it's that improbable.
You don't think it's impossible?
I don't think it's impossible at all. Listen, my dream coach is coaching in Turkey now. Things change very quickly.
Okay.
You know, things change very quickly. So I don't know. Something tells me the right situation, he was open to it.
It's not what I think. It's what Jurgen Klopp's closest friend, Jurgen Klinsmann, is thinking. He laughed, essentially laughed at the possibility. And then he was politically correct because, of course, Jurgen would be able to put together an answer that would entertain us and would give us something to talk about. And here we are talking about it.
He also
else could
entertained,
happen?
hold on real quick, he also entertained that it was a very attractive job.
Yes, we did ask him how attractive it was, and specifically for somebody of the ilk of a Jurgen Klopp.
You know what else could happen? Ancelotti could coach Brazil. How about that circus?
I mean, they
right?
that was
believed
real
it
for a minute.
That was
Ancelotti's married to a Canadian woman. He could come coach Canada.
He could, yeah. Supposedly they have a house up by Whistler, so that would be really convenient.
In the interview that we did with Jurgen Klinsmann as part of ESPN FC, he was talking about kind of the opportunity missed in the Copa America through the disappointment, but also talking about what a massive opportunity the World Cup is, and that it was such a big decision right now whether to stay with Berhalter or not because of the World Cup looming. Does that looming home World Cup put more pressure on U.S. soccer to make a move
100%
now?
Absolutely. Well, there's more pressure to make a move. It doesn't necessarily have to be now. You just mentioned there's very few games. There's a couple friendlies coming up against Canada and
Panama
and in like September and whatever. So, you're not really learning a whole lot out of that. So I don't think it's necessarily the case where do it tomorrow. Or, again, I think it's more a case of if you're going to make the move for the person that you really, really think is the right person to do it.
So what's going on midweek then? What are the announcements?
I don't know.
This is the LeBron Griezmann decision. We're just going to announce nothing's.
Well, we don't know. That's why we're going to have to wait and find out.
I'm sorry. What? LeBron Griezmann? What?
Yeah, so you make a
When
decision.
LeBron announced he was leaving, and when Griezmann announced he was leaving too, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So if they're going to make an announcement, somebody's leaving.
But that's what I'm saying. They're not going to just say nothing's happening.
Yeah.
No, there's going to be an announcement. They're making a big deal of it because there's going to be an actual announcement. And if the announcement is,
we're
ratifying them, nothing's happening, then why make the announcement?
Ale, can you give us a different perspective here? Do you think the job is attractive? Like from an outsider's perspective, is it?
Yes, but to a certain degree,
Okay.
to a certain level. Jurgen Klopp is top tier among top tiers. We're talking
The
about
best of the best.
Yes, we are. We're talking about elite. I mean, elite. And so then you ask the question, or I ask you the question.
What's the tier?
Are the United States, or is the United States
No.
men's national team an elite position?
No.
Not only
might-
national team elite, but also club elite, because that's who you're competing with.
Sure.
You're not competing with just other national teams. You're competing with the other top leagues that are telling us that those managers are making 15 to 20 million a year.
Club level.
Club level,
Correct.
but you're not, when you're talking about a Jurgen Klopp, you're not just going, oh, he's a national team manager.
Right.
You're talking about that it's top tier national team plus top tier clubs.
I mean, look, it's great to think about.
Right.
And again, from an outsider's perspective, I say, go after Jurgen Klopp. Sure, why not?
Go after Pep while you're at it.
Yes,
You
why
know?
stop there?
Klopp to
Why
me is a
stop? Go
placeholder almost. He's the
Ancelotti,
he's the top of the list, but
he was going to be a national team manager.
really, this
Yeah,
is a
but
conversation
Ancelotti
about
never said
ambition.
U.S. men's national team. What Pep Guardiola has said U.S. men's national team. Jurgen Klopp has said U.S. men's national team. Jose Mourinho, these coaches have, in a way, said the actual program and then flirted with the idea, which is why many in the press and many in the fandom of the U.S. men's national team think it is a possibility, because for these people, it's enough of a possibility to put it out there.
It's a possibility if we knew the ambitions of the federation. I think that's the biggest, deepest question here.
Well, but I think we know the ambitions of the federation. They gave Greg Berhalter a new contract.
Right.
That told you everything that you needed to know about the ambitions of the federation in that moment.
Yes. Yeah. There was a signing off on the status quo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if you, look, I'm only going by.
But the status quo now, sorry to cut you off, looks a lot different than the status quo then.
I don't want to come across as if I don't agree that
Right.
going after Jurgen Klopp is a great thing.
Right.
Again, let me just say that so that I'm clear. Yeah, sure, make the call. What I'm saying is the degree to which this is a realistic aspiration, that's when I have big doubts. When I say big doubts, I mean huge doubts. I don't think, and as I just explained it to you, an elite manager, unless he's looking for something different, unless he wants a change of pace, unless this world that he has been a part of, he's somehow jaded and it's now not what he's looking for, and he wants to have a completely, totally different experience, then maybe we can have the conversation. And even then, I still think it's a stretch.
Look, I can send a letter and ask Taylor Swift to play at my daughter's birthday party.
Right,
I mean,
But if
she
you don't-
might say yes.
but if you don't
but
send
if you
the letter,
don't
better
ask,
send the
she
money.
never
You
will.
don't
You better send the money.
And I might need about 25 million as well.
You got that
to
cash
do
or what? You got that
You know,
cash?
Casey, he's got friends. He's got friends.
Live in the castle, built by the Franks.
Hey, Kasey told us.
I'll make it happen.
All right, let's
you go.
move from a discussion about the U.S. managerial position to the Mexican managerial. Apparently,
What?
they're pondering a coaching change as well. TUDN reporting that Mexican Federation leadership are considering bringing in Javier Vasco Aguirre. That's right, the same man that took Mexico to the 2002 and 2000 World
How
Cup.
did that 2002 go?
We don't have to talk about it.
There you
Most
go.
recently at Mallorca in
And they
Spain.
made it out of the group stage.
Zip it. They're going to bring him in for 2026. They're going to make Jimmy Lozano an assistant, according to this report, and then give Jimmy Lozano the team in 2030. Herc, is this a good idea?
It's straight laughable and quite frankly humiliating for Jimmy Lozano. Like that this is circulating. There's
Can I suggest something as a
probability.
fan? I don't care if Jimmy Lozano is humiliated. I would rather have Vasco than
No,
Jimmy.
you wouldn't,
This is
because
weird.
Vasco's the guy you bring to get you to the World Cup because you're so terrible that you almost didn't get to the World Cup. But once you're at the World Cup, what has he done for you?
Listen,
what has he done for
Vasco's
you?
a bombero. When do they show up? When the house is on fire. You tell me
You're
Mexican
already
soccer house is not on
qualifying
fire
for
right
the
now?
World Cup. What has he done at the World Cup besides the biggest stain in Mexican national
He won the
history?
group in 2002. You talk about your 2010
asking
World Cup,
what
and all you
happened.
talk about is we won the group with
What
England in it.
happened? What happened?
They
You
won a group
lost
with
to
Italy
your
in it.
rival, 2-0.
They
Till this
beat
day.
France in 2010,
Hold on. Till this day, it's the moment
So you
that
think
hurts.
Vasco Aguirre is a bad coach?
Till this day, it's the moment that hurts the Mexican national team fan the most. Is
So keep
2-0
Jimmy
loss.
Lozano, you say?
No. You don't have to keep Jimmy Lozano, but what you don't do is embarrass the individual, embarrass yourself by bringing in Javier Aguirre to coach this team and to relegate him, Jimmy Lozano, as an assistant coach with the promise of 2030 is your World Cup. It's an embarrassment, quite frankly. The report is in-house. This is the Federation's network, in-house. So the fact that it's even out there is an embarrassment to me.
But I thought Aguirre was coming in as like a consultant to help.
About a month and a half ago, that was kind of the talk. Then you know what happened?
Then they
went out in the group phase,
Correct.
and now we need more than the consultant. Now you might actually need a manager. Ale, put yourself in the shoes of a Mexican player. You're in the dressing room. They say your coach is now your assistant, and this new guy is your coach.
Well,
how do you react to that?
I frankly you're asking me from the perspective of a player, but I can tell you from the perspective of Jimmy Lozano. If I were Jimmy Lozano and this was actually a conversation, I would say, gentlemen, thank you very much. Good night. I'm going home. You can keep it because I'm not doing that.
But we've had a conversation about Jimmy Lozano.
Yeah?
And you guys are telling me that he has very little experience, very little like success coaching at club level, at things like this.
Thin resume.
Very thin. So if you've got a resume like Ollie's talking about, you say, yeah, I'm out of here. Goodbye. But if you have a guy that's still trying to kind of make his way, are you comfortable enough to just go, okay, good.
I'm with Ollie here. I mean,
No,
this
for
is
sure.
a
No,
slap
I'm
in the
saying
face.
100%. I couldn't do it, but I'm worried about somebody that isn't quite sure
Like, where does Jimmy
the
Lozano
next
go
job goes to.
from here?
Jimmy Lozano could find. Listen, Jimmy Lozano was a candidate for the Houston Dynamo right before he ended up taking the Olympic team. Okay, so and now with the Mexican national team, I don't care how bad it went, he's going to have options. It's respect here and the lack of self-respect by the Mexican Federation within themselves to think that this is okay. Javier Aguirre for himself even entertaining this, to a colleague, I think it's low all around to everybody.
100%. Absolutely.
You have a problem with Aguirre in this sense? If he were to sign up for this?
And that his solution is the guy who was the manager now becomes the assistant. Do you think Javier Aguirre would do this if he were the other way around?
No.
0.00% chance.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening. Now, look, I'm not questioning Javier Aguirre's resume or his ability to coach a team. I don't think that's the point of discussion here. The point of discussion is how the Federation are handling the situation and how you think that whoever was the manager going to be the assistant actually works. And actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. No.
Would they be better off just firing Lozano?
Yeah, 100%. But wouldn't Javier Aguirre also have his own assistant coaches that he wants to bring in?
The
So
report
which
is
would
that
then
Javier Aguirre is asking for Lozano to be an
Oh, yeah.
assistant.
How kind. Thank you. Javier, gracias. Gracias for considering me. Are you kidding me?
Hey, you don't think Aguirre would make them better? Aside from whether it's appropriate or not,
I don't think this
you don't think he would
listen,
make this Mexico better?
Listen, the biggest problem with this Mexican team wouldn't be coaching if you got the best possible coach. It would be the player pool.
Okay, but a better coach is going to make bad players better, right?
A better
And we're
coach
saying
is going to
Aguirre is
make
a much
bad players better.
You think I think Aguirre is a much better coach
And
than
at club
Jimmy
level,
Lozano.
yes, because you've got so much time to work with them. You can implement a system. At a national team level, I think a better coach would just rather get rid of these players and start a
But I think what he does bring in would be much more instant respect. I think there would be there is a point, and I'm not saying that, I agree with you on the talent
Is it hard
pool,
to respect a guy with a
100%.
thin resume? I
In
mean, Lozano
particular-
had a good playing resume, so I think that must carry a weight with players, right? He's a national teamer, played in some tournaments, whatever.
It definitely helps when you've got both.
Right. All right, well, Jimmy Lozano, for now, still in charge of the Mexican national
You seem
team.
okay with it.
Maybe he'll be an assistant. I don't want Jimmy to continue.
Okay.
To whatever end that is, I don't think Jimmy Lozano.
We'll bring somebody else to host this show, and then you can just be the assistant. See how that works out.
All right, we got a special on Sunday, looking ahead to both finals at the Copa America and the Euros for ESPN FC. Coverage starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's check the mentions here on Futbol Americas episode 380 as we put out the call to the good friends on social media to see what they've come up with in terms of the questions. Are you checking your email to see what they got
Yes,
for us?
checking them, but I don't think I got them.
Okay, I'm opening the email here. Kasey, you want to do a little dance while I...
You can read. You can,
Oh,
it's in
look at
front
that.
of you. Yeah.
For the guys.
For the guys, if Deschamps were to step down as French manager, would he be an ideal candidate for the U.S. men's national team job? All right, we were just talking about Jurgen Klopp. Deschamps, what do you think, Kasey?
I think, again, it would be one of those conversations of dreaming. But I think, if you could
Would
get
you
some-
want him? Would you want him?
I think it's always. I think the criticism of Deschamps is that he's very conservative as a manager.
Dude, if he's conservative with that talent pool,
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
what's he going to be with...
I think that would be the one thing.
What are you suggesting? what are you
No,
insinuating?
I think.
All 11 guys on the goal.
I think again, Deschamps would be massive.
Of course.
To get that.
Who
for sure.
would you rather have, Deschamps or Klopp?
I think when you're looking at personality-wise, to try to build the game and to really build momentum into the World Cup, I think Klopp's personality
Okay, all right,
would
forget
be phenomenal.
personality marketing, just the
Style
goal
of
is
play
to have a
as well.
2026 that's
Style of play as well. But I think if you're going to grind out results,
which is what a tournament is about, right?
Which a tournament's about. Deschamps have proven, but to Herc's point, grinding out results with arguably the best individuals on paper coming in and not just looking like you're just dominating tournaments, but he's obviously, his resume is almost second to none.
And I don't think, by the way, that you can separate the sort of marketing aspect from Jurgen Klopp and how that makes him so appealing.
Sure, of course.
Jurgen Klopp is the sort of personality that I think would transcend the United States men's national team, and you can throw him on a night show. Yeah, you can throw him.
Yes.
Yeah, he can go fly that flag and would enjoy doing that.
In a way that no U.S. manager has ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And somehow with the
Bob Bradley, what were you talking about?
Bob Bradley wasn't on Letterman.
somehow with that crooked smile, he would connect with people
Right.
beyond the sport. And so I think the appeal and the allure of Jurgen Klopp is not only what he's going to
Right.
do on the field, which we imagine would be elevate what these players currently are, but I think it elevates the profile of the whole program.
You might need to get him a 2 or 3 second delay because he likes to throw in the odd swear word as well, which is always entertaining.
What about international versus club experience, like in a manager? Does that matter?
I think it does. I think it
So
does.
then-
Heading into a tournament like this,
I mean,
really
one guy
think it
has
does.
no international experience, and the other guy is mostly international.
Yeah, but one guy does have experience with probably the most important player in the program.
That's true. That's true.
that
Started
could be a
together
leg up.
at Dortmund.
How much international experience did Greg Berhalter have? How much international experience did Bob Bradley have? How much
Yeah.
international experience did Bruce Arena have? I mean, if you want to go down that line.
Yeah, exactly.
mean-
Yeah.
Simon asks, do all of you think it is a good idea to have families with you during international tournaments like Euros or World Cups? We actually had to talk about this morning, Ale.
Yeah.
Do you consider that a distraction or a benefit to your mental health to have them with you during the tournament? What is the standard protocol? Yes or no on families?
Depends on the manager. Sometimes it's closer than other managers. Other managers try to go in this big, get away from everything type thing, and we'll have a couple family days. I don't know. I mean, we live with our families week in and week out. We play week in and week out. I've had some of the best games of my career sleeping in my own bed the night before a match. I don't.
What was the longest you were away from the family?
few weeks?
For a World Cup?
Yeah, without like a, without like a family barbecue day or something. Yeah.
Which World Cup was that?
Well, '98 we were separated.
That's
quite
right.
a
You
bit.
guys were off in the
2002
boondocks, right?
we were together. I mean,
With families?
Yep. 2006 we were close. The only reason we were together in 2002 because it was post 9/11 and security was super crazy.
Okay.
And so they wanted to keep that a little bit. So we weren't necessarily walking down the street to go to the family hotel. They wanted to keep everything in house. Where in Germany it was close. I don't think in South Africa, was it because of security as well that it was?
We were in a
little-
lodge and the families were away. We only saw them once, honestly.
Did you like it or not like it?
At that point, I didn't have kids, so it wasn't any different to
Sure.
me. I was used to being by myself, but I'll give you a quick example, and this is club soccer, not international. I'm in Mexico playing, and they have it's very custom to whether you play home or away, you're in a hotel that weekend. It's multiple days in a hotel.
Concentración.
Concentración, and you're by yourself, just a team, the family's away, and it's very customary. And one time, Jose Luis Sanchez Solá, El Chelis, he goes, hey, whatever you guys want. If you guys don't want to do this for home games, you guys want to stay at home, you can stay at home. And here I am, single guy living in Guadalajara, and I'm thinking, yes, absolutely. Go to a restaurant, have a nice meal, get to sleep in my own bed. We put it to a vote. I was the only one who voted to not be in the concentración.
Really?
And the reason was when I asked the rest of the older guys, I'm like,
Get away from the family.
what happened? They're like, dude, I got kids. I can't be
sleep.
at home. I won't sleep. I won't rest. My wife, this and that. So there is this train of thought that comes with it that the family situation can be a distraction.
But I think with the way that it was handled with us was it wasn't the same room. Even when they were in the same hotel, it wasn't the same room. It wasn't the same
Right.
floor. So there was a thought process of keeping it separated.
We didn't even
Together,
have the same hotels in South Africa.
Right, but we didn't have the same hotel in Germany either. But you were close enough to go see your kids, see your wife, have a cup of coffee, and then go back to your hotel. I liked the balance of that.
Family wasn't with you in Copa America 2011, right?
No. My dad and my brother were traveling around Argentina.
That must have been cool.
Yeah, of course, and absolutely, and for them, it was a great trip. And I got to see them once after we tied Brazil 0-0 in the first game of the tournament, and then after that, I didn't see them at all.
Was your manager responsible for that? Kind of keep it, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. They would give us enough time to see if indeed there was family, to see family. But honestly, as I remember, I think we were just in full tournament mode.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Better not to have him around?
I think so. I like the idea that I can see my wife and I can see my kids, but it's also a sort of a area of concern, because while I'm focusing on training and I'm focusing on the game or focusing on the team video and the meeting or whatever else, I'm also having to focus, like, are they okay? Are they all right? Because if they're traveling the country by themselves, it's a whole thing. And I honestly didn't need any of that stuff. And I also have to say, my beautiful, lovely wife, love you, babe, love you, miss you. She would not have just taking the kids from place to place in Argentina and hey, let's watch this game, and then it's not. It would not have been an enjoyable thing. And if she's not enjoying it, guess who was gonna hear about it? This guy. So do I need that in the middle of a competition?
And I think that's
Not
the hard
so
part,
much.
because sometimes it is individuals have different scenarios that best fit them.
Yeah, one of the worst things that I always hated was if there was an important game or a final, was having to figure out the ticket situation, because it was keeping me from concentrating on what I need to concentrate. Now I'm worried about getting this person ticket, getting that person ticket, making sure this family member's happy. It's just, it takes away from what you
Worried
actually
what
want
they're
to do.
paying the babysitter. I mean, all these things. That really
My first match for the national team in Seattle, I think I needed to get over 100 tickets.
Oh, and you were on the hook for it. Like, you had to organize it. Forget the money part of it. To me, the stress would.
Actually, they were all
Free?
ended up being comped through Nike,
There you go,
through
Adrian.
U.S. Soccer.
There you go, Adrian.
But it was
in high places.
Another power move.
but it was sitting down
it's terrible.
and trying to figure out and how to organize it. You're right. It is. It's a distraction that you really don't want to be dealing with in big games.
And honestly, when you go into this sort of long-term national team call-ups for tournaments and preparation, whatever, you get into a routine. And at least for me, I cannot speak for others, but at least for me, the routine factor was important. I wake up at this time, I know I have breakfast, I have training, we have lunch, we have nap, whatever, then we have some sort of snack, we go to training again, we come back, we have dinner. And we do that over and over and over again, and for me, that was important.